We've got about 50 million followers. We're in the billions of views, and we're a small team. We've got about 50 million followers. We're in the billions of views, and we're a small team.
All right. Hello. Starting out the show here. Let's see. Hopefully, I've got everything set up right this week, and you guys can actually hear me, as opposed to last week when I started out and realized I was muted. Hopefully, everything is all good this time. Thanks for joining. Hope you guys like the new setup that I've got going on here. I'm testing out some different things here with OBS, using OBS for streaming. And you can see I've got some stuff going on here. I've got the chat off on the, let's see, guys, that way, the side over there where you guys can see it on screen. So hopefully you guys like being able to see your chat on screen. And of course, I can still pull stuff up like this. Hello to Jason Little Alien. Hello to E. Leo. I know we'll have more people joining as I get started here. But before we really get into everything, I do want to do a little bit of housekeeping really quick. So first off, one of the things that I want to say is thank you so much to Jason Little Alien, the moderator of all moderators, who has agreed to also help and mod on this channel with my live streams. I mean, he just does it all. Sometimes he's doing 2 and 3 streams at once. I think I know how he does it. But again, I just got to say a big, huge shout out and thank you to Jason for agreeing to do that. Like I said, I know how busy he is. I know he could easily have turned me down, but I definitely appreciate him doing it. And like I said, I think I finally figured out how he does it. Now, don't get me wrong. I mean, I'm not saying Jason is Batman, but I'm pretty sure nobody's ever seen Jason and Batman in the same place at the same time. So, you know, draw your own conclusions. So another thing that I wanted to do, another thing I wanted to talk about really quick before we really start getting into a lot of stuff here, is, again, just a little something on the channel here. So if any of you joined on my last show that I did last week, actually streamed on my birthday, did a little bit of CES coverage on there. A couple of people went a little bit crazy in the chat and gifted some memberships out to a lot of people. Jason was one of them. He gifted a bunch of memberships to people. Goofyfoot, like I said, went completely nuts and gifted a ton of memberships to people. So again, thank you to Jason. Thank you to Goofyfoot for doing that. But I wanted to talk about that really quick because I know like some people have strong opinions on, you know, channels having memberships and things like that. I made a decision like a month or so ago that I was going to add memberships to the channel. At least for now, I'm trying to keep it to just a simple 99-cent, one tier. And I want it to be, you know, the type of thing where if people like what I do, if people want to go the extra mile and just throw a little extra support my way, that this is an opportunity for them to do it. I'm not trying to make a big deal about it. Like I said, you may hear me on my videos say from time to time that, if you want to support the channel more, you could consider purchasing a membership. I don't do a ton of posts on it, although after this, you might see a community post from me about it in the near future, because now that I've got a few people on here who at least have some gifted memberships for now, I want to make sure that memberships are worthwhile. I mean, if you're spending $1 on the channel, you ought to get your money's worth. So one of the things I've done for sure is I've got some emotes. So anybody who has the membership, you've got some extra emotes that you can use in the chat when I do my live shows, if that's what you want. Another thing I've decided to do is that for some of my videos, it's not going to be all of them, but for some of them, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to put those out as member-only exclusives for a limited time, usually about 24 hours. So what I'll do is for some of my videos, I will put those out where members get a chance to watch it first for 24 hours. And then after that, everybody else is going to get a chance to see it. So I don't want people to feel like they have to buy a membership just so they can see everything that I do. But like I said, I want to also make sure that the people who do decide that they want to do that membership get at least a little something for their money's worth. Like I said, it's not going to be every video. Like if you see me do, like a breaking news video, which is a lot of the stuff that I do, I'm probably not going to make that a 24-hour exclusive, because that's usually the type of thing that needs to get out there pretty quickly, that I want people to see right away. But like I just did a video earlier this week on a fan-made DC superhero beat-em-up style game. Really fun game. If you haven't had a chance to try it, it's a free game. It's a free download. It's kind of cool. It definitely reminds me of a lot of the 16-bit classic beat-em-ups. But that went out exclusive for 24 hours, and now that's available to everybody today. I did another one that went up today that's right now exclusive that will drop for everybody tomorrow, and that's on how to do button mapping for the GRS Viper board. So if you've got a Viper board, if you've got the KVM switcher in your iArcade, and you wanted to know how to get into the RetroArch settings to map buttons for games, this is a tutorial on how to do that. So that's exclusive right now for members. That'll drop for everybody else tomorrow. But like I said, I don't want it to be the type of thing where people feel like they have to buy a membership just to get this stuff. But if you do happen to get one, at least this is something that might make it a little bit worthwhile for you. So I just wanted to put that out there to people so that they understand my thought process behind this and why I'm doing this. I don't want to say that things will never change, that this is how it's always going to be, because you never know what can happen 5-10 years down the line, and people tend to say things on videos that come back to haunt them. So I'll just say for now, this is how I'm deciding to run things, and we'll see how it goes from there. But that is everything for that. So let me just take a quick minute. I know we got a couple of people in the chat here who have been putting some stuff up, so I just want to say some quick hellos right now. Again, we've got Jason Little Alien in the chat. We've got Elio here, and we've got the Cornercade. So good to see you guys here. Hopefully we'll see some other people jump on as the show progresses. But I don't want to go for too long tonight, because man, I like to try to keep these things right to about an hour and not go too crazy with them. I'm pretty sure Arcades Anonymous is doing their show later tonight at 9, so I definitely don't want to go into their time. I know a lot of people like to watch them as well. But I think I've got a pretty interesting topic for you guys tonight. But I will tell you that before I get into that, there is one other thing that kind of dropped earlier today that I wanted to touch on for you guys. So let me get that out of the way first. I'm going to be like Michael B here, and all my Facebook chat is going to pop up as I'm doing this. All right, let me move over. Let me move over to my screen here. Oh, Petty Arcade, hey, good to see you. Listen, I am glad you're here, because I wanted to say an apology specifically to you. When I did my show last week, you dropped a super chat on the show. You dropped a $2 super chat. I totally missed it. I was into whatever I was talking about at the time. I did wind up seeing that after the fact, so I apologize that I missed your super chat on the last show. But I did. I'm glad you're here because I did want to acknowledge it. But so I'm sorry. I'm still learning how to keep track of the chat and do everything that I got to do while I am talking and stuff. So again, I apologize, but you did drop a super chat, and I did want to acknowledge that. All right, so excuse me. So now let's get into what I wanted, a little bit of what I wanted to talk about. And first up, I want to talk about this. This is something that dropped earlier today from AtGames. They actually put out a couple of things, starting with this. This is upcoming scheduled maintenance and enhanced features coming tomorrow. So, and I think this actually happens, I guess, later tonight. So we're thrilled to announce new features and improvements coming to the AtGames Legends platform with tomorrow's firmware update. To prepare scheduled server maintenance will take place tonight. So from 12 a.m. to 2 a.m. Pacific time, the machines are going to be down while they do these updates. And I think that people are going to be really excited for the updates that they have on here. I think these, at least one of these features for sure, is something that I think people are really going to be happy about. And that's this one, this automated offline mode. Keep gaming even when the internet is down. Offline mode ensures uninterrupted access to your purchased table packs and arcade games with support for multiple devices. Automatically enabled upon game launch. It's perfect for when you're offline or relocating your machines. So I think this is something, especially after the last issue they had in December with that DNS outage that they had where they were down for several days, got a lot of people upset by the fact that they couldn't play games that they bought. I mean, it's bad enough when you can't get access to the store because you want to buy something, and of course it was when they had a sale going on. Oh, Zero Redux, the update is available now. Okay, so I thought they were doing. So this post went up 13 hours ago. So maybe this launching 5 p.m. Pacific on January 15th. Oh, all right. So I guess this announcement was actually late yesterday, and they did the server update today. So that's good. Tomorrow, just in case. But anyway, I think this offline mode is going to be something that people are going to be really happy about, because after that last issue that they had, I said it's one thing when you can't access the store or that your stuff isn't posting to a global leaderboard or anything, but when you can't play your games, period, that causes a lot of concern for people, and it especially causes concern. People start wondering, well, what if AtGames goes out of business? What if servers go down permanently? Does that mean we're going to lose access to the games that we've bought over the years? Hopefully, this is something that means that should, God forbid, that happen at some point in the future to them, you'll still be good and still be able to play your games if they have this offline mode enabled. And then, of course, the other thing that they've added is the arcade control panel support, added for improved button mapping for Legends 4K pinball devices via an update to the retro player components. Now, I have the control panel on my HD, which seems to work just fine. When I had a loaner on the 4K and I was testing it out, I didn't have the 4K, the control panel in there. I just had the regular, little D-pad panel that it comes with. So I never had a chance to try out the arcade control panel on the 4K. I guess people have been complaining about issues with it. Now, I don't know if these are issues with the games that you can get for it, or if it's more specifically for OTG and things like that. But hopefully this update that they've put out will fix some of that stuff. So listen, I think this is a good thing from AtGames. And again, with this offline mode, I think this offline mode hopefully goes at least a little bit towards, some goodwill towards the community after, what happened with them in December. So we'll have to see how well this works out. Hopefully everything works as expected. You guys, I haven't put on my HD device to update it. I believe this should also be, even though this is in the 4K page, I believe at least this offline mode thing should hopefully be part of the update that was also set for the HD device. So I'll have to check that out for myself. But, listen, when you guys do this update, let me know how it goes. Now, the other thing that they put out, and again, hang on one second. I had it set up, and then I lost it. Let me find it again. And again, my daughter in South Korea is sending me grandbaby pictures, so I can get those out of the way too. Hang on one second. All right, so here we go. So this is the other announcement. I guess these were both from yesterday. Starting January 30th, we're changing the way you experience our pinball tables with Legends single packs. For the first time, selecting non-Zen Studio tables. Select non-Zen Studio tables will be available as individual pinball packs, making it easier than ever to find, purchase, and play your favorite pinball tables. So, as we know, they are putting out a bunch of deluxe versions of the Sicaria tables over the course of this year. So it looks like the first one, Space Shuttle Deluxe, is just going to be a single pack. I think we knew that based on the calendar for the most part, that these were going to be single packs anyway, but it's good to see them acknowledge this and to see what price we can expect for these going forward. This is pretty much, I guess, the pricing we'll see throughout the year. So if you're buying it for the HD, it's going to be $5. If you're buying it for 4K, it's going to be $7. Now, for the most part, AtGames has put out like the Gottlieb packs, the Sicaria packs. They've put them out in packs where you get 5, 6, 7, 8 games in a pack, and you're paying anywhere from $25 to $35 for it. So with this single pack pricing, I guess it's good and bad. It's probably cheaper to get them in a pack, especially if you're getting more than 5 games in a pack. If they're $5 a piece, $25 for 5 games. If there's more than 5 games, you're getting a deal on it, obviously. But you also might be getting a bunch of games that you really don't give a crap about. Whereas here, it's much more of an a la carte concept, so you can just buy the ones that you think are the most interesting. So I'll be curious to see how well people accept this going forward. But I do think it's an interesting an interesting move that they are making, and we'll see what happens. Now, I know they did have some other things scheduled for the year. Primal Carnage tables. I can't remember if those were going to be single packs or if those were meant to be, 3 or 4 games in a pack. So we'll have to see throughout the year if they do any packs with multiple games in it, or if everything is just going to be single tables going forward. But again, I think it's an interesting move, and it was something that I wanted to bring up tonight in case any of you hadn't had a chance to see this yet. So Jason says, it looks like the main difference is now you won't be caught with your pants down. The auto offline will occur during table launch. So, yeah, I think ultimately that's a good thing. Wise decision on the pricing going forward. Glad to see it. All right, good. Hopefully, like I said, hopefully everybody feels that way about it. All right, give me 1 second here. Throat's getting a little dry. Let me just take a swig of my drink as we move on. So now, I guess what I really want to do next, let me check my notes, make sure I didn't miss anything. Nope, I'm good. I'm on track. All right, so now I really want to get into the main topic of the show today. So if you saw the title, if you saw my thumbnail, the title that I have out there is Iconic Arcade, the new Arcade1Up. Now, I want to set a couple of ground rules as we go forward into this for, anybody who's watching this or anybody who catches this on replay and wants to put comments down below. I get that there's going to be a lot of people out there who don't like Arcade1Up at all right now, and by extension, are not going to like what Iconic Arcade is doing. Whether you just feel it's the same old, from one company to the next, whether it has to do with the fact that John D is involved in it and you hate John D, so you're going to hate anything that he does. The whole point of tonight is not to come out and just bash Iconic and say they suck, the whole thing's going to suck, it's no different, blah, blah, blah. Now, I also don't expect this chat to just be, let's praise them up and down and say everything is, sunshine and roses with them, because there's no such thing as a perfect product. But I'm really not interested in I hate Iconic Arcade, I hate Arcade1Up, I hate everything John D does, and I don't want, anything to do with this kind of talk. I'd like it to be a little more constructive than that. Certainly, after looking at what they're doing, I think there are things that have room for improvement, either before these particular machines launch or before they get into whatever the next machine is that they're going to do. Tim York, thank you so much for joining us. Definitely appreciate you coming on. So what I want to do is, I saw a post on Reddit, and for those of you who don't know, there is now a thread or a subreddit dedicated to Iconic Arcade. If you're not on Reddit, there are plenty of, there are a lot of posts on there for Arcade1Up, New Wave Toys, AtGames, all these different companies. And Reddit now has one dedicated to Iconic Arcade. Superfat Hobbit is here. Thank you so much for joining us. As far as I'm concerned, all the cabs I have are John Dube's creations. I'd like to think he was the main reason we have what we have. It's no longer just tied to a company. I've learned one thing in my brief time in the home arcade realm: people love to complain about everything. This is very, very true. This is very, very true. But what I want to do now is I want to bring up a post on Reddit that was made by NeoHyper64. And I think this is a really good starting point for a conversation, because he does a really great job here of breaking down what a lot of people have been saying and a lot of people have been talking about since this news dropped about the Iconic Arcade, the double XL Street Fighter cabs, all this. He's kind of pieced together everything from a lot of people's streams and whatever and put it into one post here. And I think it's worth just kind of going over this and looking at everything he's got to say and just kind of, giving our thoughts and opinions, kind of, maybe picking it apart a little bit, seeing what people think, and so on and so forth. So he says here, the Iconic XXL cabs will be produced in the same factory as Arcade1Up products, using the same materials. The vendor producing the Iconic XXL is one that produces products with the fewest quality issues for Arcade1Up. So right out of the gate, I think this kind of speaks to what I was talking about with Iconic Arcade being basically the next Arcade1Up. And I think my thought process there, as we move forward into this, is, look, we have been waiting for the better part of 2 years for Arcade1Up to do something, anything interesting. And it feels like for the last 2 years, we've gotten nothing but just rehashes and a couple of kind of like off the wall interesting projects like the claw machine and things like that. But I think what Iconic has done here is they've taken what the Arcade1Up community has said they've wanted for the last 2 years and basically said, hold my beer. And I think that's really what they've produced here is the XL cabinets, or slightly more than XL cabinets, that people have said they want. Now, are these going to be perfect? No, of course not. Like I said, no product is perfect. There's always going to be things that people like or don't like. Some of it is going to be a little nitpicky, whether you don't like the art or not. Some of it might be a little more severe, like, button joystick quality and things like that. But let me just keep going through this as we continue this discussion. So the prototype unit uses 4-inch speakers versus Arcade1Up's 3-inch speakers for better sound quality. Okay, maybe. Bigger speakers don't necessarily mean better sound quality, so it may depend on is the sound just coming like directly out of the Pi? Is there any kind of amp in between or whatever? We'll have to wait and see. But I suppose bigger speakers is not necessarily a See, this is you, isn't it? I knew it. Yeah, man, I saw this post today, and I actually saw this post after I decided this was going to be my topic, and I thought it was a perfect lead-in to this. So good job on this, brother. I really do think this is a good job. So I'm gonna keep going through it. I hope more people check out this the Iconic Arcade subreddit for sure. And if you disagree with anything that I'm going to say on this, feel free to chime in. So I'm up to this part. The size is very similar to the Arcade1Up XL product line, half an inch taller, 7 inches or so, 1 inch deeper, and 1 inch wider. Production models will have a seam along the side, essentially be the XL product that Arcade1Up couldn't or wouldn't produce. So yeah, again, leading to my point about them being a step up from Arcade1Up. People have been saying for a while now that this is exactly what they wanted from Arcade1Up. They want more. They want bigger machines. They want XL machines. They want, again, better quality and all. And it seems like that's what Iconic is set up to give them. They're being marketed as 9/10 scale size because the original HS1 was 75 inches tall, and this cab is going to be at least 67. So, yeah, I mean, we can get nitpicky about size and scale and all that kind of stuff, but if it's big enough that people can stand in front of it and enjoy playing it, I think that's probably all that really matters to most people. Appreciate it, Bill. Love the topic. John and I were just talking last night, and he feels like it's XL's natural extension too. Yep. Jumped in and ordered the Alpha 2 during John DC's live stream. I've been waiting and agree with his vision. Started with my 2 arcade with the Alpha 2 and Glenn's 26 full-size unit. Yep. Awesome. I'm going to be excited to see when people get that. I still haven't pulled the trigger yet. I'm debating on a couple of things this year. It's going to depend on some other financing issues that I am not going to get into on this stream, but we will see. But I have to say, for me, it's definitely something. These are definitely machines that I am interested in checking out at some point. 21-inch screen would not fit with the correct cabinet proportions and sight lines, and would cause the price to exceed the $699. You see, and again, like, I get it. I know a lot of people have been talking, and again, this isn't, I'm trying to mostly stick with the Iconic Arcade theme tonight. But I know, people gave Glenn a hard time about the 19-inch screen, and that's why he's doing a version with the 26-inch screen. But, man, you got to remember, all these arcade machines had 19-inch CRTs in them. It wasn't until you got into, like, into the mid-90s and nowadays that you see these giant machines with these giant screens in them, for the most part. Most of the arcade games that people were playing back in the day, were 19-inch screens. So I don't understand why people suddenly have a problem with it, with that. And I get it, the 17-inch screens, I get it, but even in the 3/4 scale, those kind of made sense. Once you get a little bigger, then going to the 19-inch screen, I think makes sense. John says he's not going to do a 3/4 cab. If you want that, there are other options. Yeah, well, maybe. Maybe there are other options. It kind of depends on if Arcade1Up ever gets off their ass and actually does anything in the future. it was again suggested that there will be an extra game included with the pre-order units. Now, my understanding there from what I've heard is that it's supposed to be Captain Commando. Now, that may not necessarily be set in stone yet, but I got to say, if it's not set in stone yet, I kind of wish maybe they'd go with something else, because we have Captain Commando in the Arcade1Up Legacy units. It was on their Street Fighter Partycade. I like the fact that even though this machine does have games in it that we've seen before from other companies, that it's got a lot of stuff in it we haven't seen. The Street Fighter Alphas, Street Fighter 3, Giga Wing 2. So it's exciting to see games that we haven't seen yet. Capcom's not hurting for games that you could put in this thing, as long as they stick with a game that's designed for the horizontal monitor that this is going to have in it, which is all the games they've got in there. Even, like I said, even Giga Wing 2 and Loop Master, I believe, were horizontal games, whereas I know some of the 1940 other whatever games, some of those were on vertical monitors, but 1944 Loop Master, I'm pretty sure, was horizontal. So I do believe that every game that they've got in there is in the right aspect ratio for this monitor. As long as they stick with something like that, I think it's a smart move. I wish it would be something other than Captain Commando, though, because we've seen it before. Many small details are in flux, including controls and possible art, as well as marquee, washout, power location, etc. So the nice thing here is that it does seem like they are listening to the community feedback they've gotten so far. So hopefully we will see some design changes for this. Yeah, that's what I thought. I've been playing it recently on my Viper, my Arcade Viper, and I was pretty sure that's how I remembered it. So I do think we're going to see some changes to this before it actually comes to market before it actually ships, I should say, later this year. Hopefully they'll move that power button. The marquee, I think that the Street Fighter 2 one looked pretty good, but I definitely feel like the Alpha one was washed out. I know a lot of other people who saw it in person kind of felt the same way, so I'm hoping that gets fixed. I've seen enough people playing this that said that the joystick, at least on player one, didn't quite feel right, and the buttons were just kind of adequate. So hopefully we'll see that get fixed. Again, I don't think we'll see, like, super high quality in here, but if they can at least get better than what Arcade1Up puts in theirs, again, that puts them a step ahead of that company, in my opinion. So John D said this is the first time he's launched a product with no marketing because it's a product he's making for the community, not the masses. Companies fail because they just don't listen. More fan service than less. Everybody has been loud enough. It won't be perfect, but we're striving for it. Let the product speak for itself. So on and so forth. So, the fact that they've got Iconic on board with this, hopefully we will get to see this in some other retailers, not just VMI. And if it does well, if people like this and it does well, I'm sure we can expect more from them in the future. And that's, again, where I kind of want to go as we move on with this. Just take a minute here. Super Fat Hobbit says, seems to me those with the 1UP XLs mixed in with John D's scale, it's the perfect size for true home arcade homes. It's too late for me to start over, but happy for those who are starting now. Yeah, again, it's going to, because I've got a bunch of the 3/4 scales in mind. I don't have any XLs right now, so it's definitely going to look weird in mine. So we'll have to see how that goes. But again, so many people have been clamoring for the XLs. So many people have said they're willing to sell their 3/4 for XLs. Adam, brother, good to see you here. You got it, man. I'm excited for this. It's a fun time to be talking about something that's new. And that's the important thing to me, is just talking about something that's new that I think people are getting excited about. John D approached several companies, but he knew he had to work with a company that had some experience in the category. Iconic Arcade, backed by Lenovo, they're taking this seriously, and they're already in meetings considering community feedback. So again, going back to what they've heard from the community. And I tell you, I can't imagine that Iconic jumped on board to do this, and this is going to be a one and done. There's got to be more coming down the pike than just this. So again, hopefully this does well, and we'll see more from them. Now, I guess this goes to the reason why they chose to go with the Pi 5, and why I guess Iconic is a smart move for them, because they've already done a cab with a Pi in it. It had enough power to do more powerful games online, such as Naomi games, Pi 5 2 gig, which is powerful enough to run everything they wanted. If you want to run a more powerful Pi 5, you could add your own and just transfer the SD card. See, this is where I think things get kind of interesting. Oh, and it's officially licensed by the Pi Foundation, which again I think is also kind of an interesting thing here, because it means they've got the full backing of that for support and different things. Now, there are pluses and minuses, in my opinion, to going with the Pi 5. Hey, Biggie D, glad you could join us, man. Appreciate it. Some of the pluses being that, yeah, it is really kind of an off-the-shelf product. So if you have an issue with it, you don't have to wait for a company to send you a brand new PCB or whatever. You could probably just go out and get your own. Now, that is assuming that this is just a standard Pi 5. And it sounds like it is. It sounds like they haven't done any special modifications to it for these machines. I would be curious to see if they've done anything, however, to lock it down, to prevent people from adding their own games. Because if they haven't, then, you know, the door is wide open for people to put any games to buy this thing with the games it comes with, and then put anything they want on there. Now, it's not always that easy. It's going to depend on the emulator. It's going to depend on the file structure, and things like that. And that's another thing that I'm a little curious about, because I know Arcade1Up got kind of accused in the past of putting out one of their machines with an off-the-shelf emulator on it and not licensing a commercial one. So the fact that this is running on a Pi 5, I know obviously the games that are coming with it are fully licensed. I'm not even going to go down that road. Obviously, the Capcom games are 100% fully licensed, fully legit to be on this machine. But what emulator are they running? Is it running MAME? Is it running like a CP2 emulator, which again could be MAME, could be FB Neo? I don't know. I'm curious. Maybe some of you guys who are close to the people involved can maybe let us know. Or I mean, maybe it doesn't really matter, but it's just it's my curiosity as to what emulator they're actually using to run these. Kong B, I'm so glad you're here. It's so nice to see you, man. Nice post, Paul, but how come I don't see any credit for hosting that live stream in the suites to get some of this info? Had to jump through some hoops to make that happen, and it was magical. That was a great stream. You guys did a great job with that. See, hang on. Look. This must be it right here. This, or maybe it's this one. I'm not sure. I guess it's this one right here, the 19K Fox one. See, we're gonna get nitpicky, huh? I thought you were on with Fox. I thought it was Fox's show that you were on. But in all seriousness, B, you did some great coverage. I thought you did some great coverage of the machine when you were out there. I really enjoyed your look at it and the things that you had to say about it. And I do hope that they do listen to some of the feedback that you and others have put out there. But yeah, it's the coverage of this has been just great so far. So continuing on, development costs go way down since this cabinet is using more powerful hardware. Yeah, see, that's the other thing with it using a Pi as opposed to like an in-house developed PCB or SBC or anything like that. You don't have to go through the trouble of doing that. You've got the machine, you've got the Pi ready to run. You just gotta, you've just gotta have the right, structure, OS on it. You've got to have the right, theme running on it, the right emulators, and throw the games on it, and you're good to go. I mean, hell, other than the cabinet build itself, anybody can get a Pi 5, load, Batacera or Emulation Station or RetroPie on them and throw these games on them. That's not hard to do. That's not the hard part of this. The hard part really was just designing the cab, putting it together, getting the right controls, getting everything to work right. That's all they really had to worry about here. The PC part of it, if you will, there's almost no development to that. Buy the license, throw the games on there, you're done for the most part. I know I'm oversimplifying it a little bit, but for the most part. Jason, thank you, man. Definitely appreciate you. Uh-oh, let me see. Can I refresh this? Ha ha! Look at that! Look at that! B, you got your shout out. Hope you're happy, my man. You got your shout out. See, we make things happen. This is why I love doing live streams. This is good. I'm so glad that I made the decision to do more of these. We come together. We make things happen. I really should say you, because I had nothing to do with that. But you guys made this stuff happen. Just some other interesting notes. Doesn't look like it's going to have a deck protector, but a high-quality printing method on it. So I guess very similar to the Street Fighter Deluxe that came out, how that didn't have a deck protector on it. And I own that thing, and it's still going strong, and I play it quite a bit. So if they can do something similar to that, I think that'll be pretty good. If you want to upgrade sticks and buttons, it'll likely be a direct drop-in swap, depending on the product being used. But authentic HAP-ILs can't be included at this price point. So yeah, they're not going to be on the top end of the spectrum. But like I said, if they can get it to at least a better quality than the Arcade1Up ones are, I think people will be excited and happy for this. And obviously, like I said, from the coverage that we've seen so far, there's definitely some work to be done there, whether it's just, dialing things in for what they have, or maybe just going one more step and getting different joysticks and buttons to the ones that were in the prototype that are just a little bit better. I do think we will see that before these ship. So in terms of other licenses, other people currently have the Midway license, so John can't speak to any hopes of getting a Midway or Mortal Kombat cab in the future, but he did confirm my next cabinet will be at least 67 inches tall. So he's obviously already planning another cab. We'll have to wait and see what it is. And again, like unless a company like Arcade1Up has an exclusive lock on that Midway license and Mortal Kombat, which I can't imagine they do. I think we will see one of these from them at some point in the future. It may not be the next cab they do, but I won't be surprised if we get a Mortal Kombat cab from them at some point, as long as this is something that is going to continue. Power. I would love. So somebody mentioned Power Stone. Noted this is coming to the fighting collection, so he hopes to get the license in the future. So he doesn't. So apparently he does not have the license yet for Power Stone, but it's something he's looking into. That's a great game, and the Pi 5 should be able to run that no problem. So that would be a really interesting one to see. But see, this is what I'm talking about: seeing games that we haven't seen. Uh-oh, I gotta refresh it. I gotta refresh it one more time. What you do now? You're the best, man. And Corner Cage, you got a shout out on here too, man. Awesome. So yeah, I do think at some point we're gonna see Mortal Kombat. I do think we'll see more games. It's funny to me that one of the complaints that I've seen from people is, this idea of, I already have, we already have so many Street Fighter cabs. Do we need another Street Fighter cab? Okay, well, we don't have one in this size form factor, and we don't have one with these games on it. And I know so let me bring this up. I know a million people have shown this already, but I mean, if you look at this list here, yes, we've seen Street Fighter 2 before. We've seen Champion Edition, Hyper Fighting. We've seen basically these 5 Street Fighter games on other cabs before. We've seen Knights of the Round. We've seen Final Fight. We've seen Pro Gear. We have not seen Street Fighter Alpha, Alpha 2, Alpha 3. We have not seen Third Strike. We have not seen Giga Wing 2. So you've got 5 of the 1944 Loop Master. I don't think we've seen that either. So you've got 6 of the 14 games on here are different games than have been on other cabs from other companies before. So I don't see this as a same old, same old. This is not just a Street Fighter 2 Deluxe rehash from another company. Yeah, man, I do think Third Strike is a big winner. I think it would have been nice if they could have put the first 2 iterations of Street Fighter 3 on here, not just Third Strike. But it's good to at least see that one. Oh, was Loop Master on the Final Fight one? I knew one of the other 1940 somethings had been on another cab. I didn't realize it was Loop Master. So, all right, I'll take that one back. Zero Rooks. Takeaway. Here's the problem with that. While I 100% agree with that, I would love to see Punisher come back. There's 2 issues with that. The first one being the license in general, because it's not just Capcom, it's also Disney, with Disney owning Marvel. So unless John D has access to the Marvel Capcom games, that one's going to be tough. He'd have to get both Capcom and Marvel on board with that. And the other problem is, will Disney allow the Punisher game to get out there? We were told by John D at one point that Disney didn't want that Punisher game out anymore. For whatever reason, they didn't want it put out. Now, was that BS? I don't know. I don't know. We didn't see it on the Marvel vs. Capcom 2, which to me was a miss. So you'd have to see if that is true or not, as to whether or not, that game can ever come back. But I do think the licensing is the bigger issue. Is does at this point, does John D have the Marvel license to also go with the Capcom? Because if he does, Marvel vs. Capcom 2 is right around the corner after a Street Fighter. There's no doubt in my mind that an MVC2 style cab is going to come out. All right, before I get too far. I don't want to miss like I did last time. Ezekiel, the Chicago Retro Ranger, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for the $4.99 super chat. What's up, Bill? Nice review of DC Task Force. Thank you. I'm glad you appreciated that video. That was a lot of fun. If you missed, I talked about that in the beginning of the show really quick. I put out a video on a fan-made beat-em-up game called DC Task Force. It's a free game, free download. If you like 16-bit beat-em-ups like Spider-Man Maximum Carnage or Death and Return of Superman from back in the day, it's a fun game to just check out and play around with. It's free. And, yeah, it's a good little time waster. Disney Punisher is back in the trailer. I saw that trailer drop. I have not had a chance to watch it yet, but I knew they were bringing back the show. So I don't know. Maybe that makes a difference with Punisher coming back as to whether or not they will be able to release that game at some point. But man, I really would love to see them bring that game back. It is definitely a cool game. I did see this earlier today that there is a Forbes article out on Iconic Arcade. So, Jason, thanks for putting that in the chat for people to check out. Zero Redux testing control panel update for 4K coin-op sauce. Works like a charm so far. Nice. And thank you also for the super chat. Definitely appreciate it. Make sure I'm not missing anything else in the chat here. Oh my God, Adam, you're killing me. 1999 super chat. The article in Forbes today about Media 1UP at Iconic Arcade is impressive. Yeah, so if you saw it, Jason did put that in the chat. So definitely check that out, guys. And thank you, Adam, for that super chat, man. That I appreciate that. I really, really do. All right, so let me get back to this just to finish this up. Got to make it bigger so guys like P-Dubs don't yell at me. So, yeah, just to finish this up real quick. So, for those of you in Canada, you are going to get this Iconic Arcade. Distribution is currently up for bid. So, maybe someplace like The Brick or something will pick this up. Maybe GameStop will pick it up like they did the original Iconic. How funny would that be? I guess we'll just have to wait and see who gets it, but hopefully, you Canadians will get your chance at this too. Got David McIntosh is helping launch Iconic brand. He's supporting other companies in the space as well. So that's interesting. I'm wondering, so is David McIntosh now working basically freelance? So he's not actually working for Media 1UP. Directly with John D, but doing more like freelance marketing for a bunch of companies. And, John reached out to him to help out with this one. For his sake, I actually kind of hope that's the case. I actually hope he's just kind of doing his own thing and gets a chance to work with, a bunch of companies and just, put himself out there to the highest bidder. Good for him if that's what he's doing. He said everybody wanted XL. It was being neglected. And this is so true. I mean, again, 2 years basically, we kept hearing from Arcade1Up, it's the year of the XL, it's the year of the XL, it's the year of the XL. And the last 2 years have gone by and we've got nothing, or at least nothing significant. Again, just maybe some rehashes. I guess you could say that Golden Tee Midway was at least something interesting from them in terms of, an XL size cab. But it was still basically just a mishmash of stuff that they've done before in a bigger machine. So, again, if that's the direction that they're going, I think a company like Iconic is ripe to kind of jump in and take the spot that they have left behind to, for lack of a better term, to fill the hole that is Arcade1Up right now. So let me get that off of there because that's pretty much it for that. Again, Paul, great article. I think you really did a great job of summarizing and just putting everything together on there. So Yeah, it worked out perfect that you put that up, and I had this planned for tonight. So that kind of made my show. So thank you. All right, let me just take a minute and just catch up on the rest of the chat here. So Biggie D says DMAC works for My Arcade and Iconic Arcade as marketing guy. So okay, so he is working with a bunch of companies. I got to say, he's, like I said, he's probably either freelancing or consulting, as opposed to like working direct, being specifically a paid employee by them, which I think is a smart move on his part. Yeah, contract work. That's exactly where I was going. Thank you. John's still doing stuff with Unico. Some interesting stuff coming, apparently. So, yeah, that'll be interesting to see, too. Close to pre-ordering Street Fighter 2 XXL. I just want to see more before I pull the trigger. Love both cabs, though. Yeah, hopefully over the next month or so, we will see a little bit more from them. Hopefully, like I said, if they are really taking the time to listen to the community feedback, to make some of the changes that people have been suggesting, then we will get to see a little bit more from them before, all of these go, get shipped out. There's going to be a Golden Tee XXL. No, no, Pac-Man. It has to be Pac-Man. That's the only logical next step. More fun stuff is coming into it. Yeah. And I got to say, I am very excited for this year, more so than I have been this past year, for sure. Iconic is well backed. Half of it is a toy distribution company. Half of it is a company backed by Lenovo. Yep. And, Lenovo is a big enough company for sure. DMAC has his own company. Yeah. So, again, good for him. I'm glad that that's the direction that he went. You got it, man. Like I said, I think you did a great write-up on that. You really covered all the bases on what people had been saying. I'm trying, Biggie. I'm trying. One day, hopefully, I'll be like you. And I mean that in all flattery. I'm working on it. I said it last time. I'll say it again. It's a little weird just sitting here kind of, doing this myself. Even though I have the chat here, I'm chatting with you guys, it does feel a little like talking to myself as opposed to, being on with somebody else or being on a panel and interacting with people that I can actually see. So it definitely feels a little weird, but I'm having fun with it, and I hope you guys are having some fun too. Kong says, fun story, Paul. John told me earlier in the week he didn't want to do any live interviews. Then I asked if we could just stream in his suite with the three of us. I knew he couldn't resist. He was raw, but in a good way. It was great. Yeah. Yeah, man, you got it. So, yeah, so I think I've pretty much covered. We're getting close to 9 o'clock. I know I'm pretty sure Arcades Anonymous is going to do their show tonight. They usually do 9 o'clock on a Wednesday, so I don't want to go too far into them. I want to wrap this up really quickly. But just for a couple of minutes, I just want to, continue to hear from you guys. Is this what you think? Are you more excited for what you see Iconic Arcade doing here and what you are hopeful they're going to do over the coming year, over this coming year, besides maybe just these two cabs, as opposed to whatever might be coming from Arcade1Up, which at this point right now, we have no clue what's coming from them. If anything is coming from them, we have not heard a thing. Nooner, just tuning in to answer the title stream. No, they're not the new Arcade1Up with just this one release, in my opinion. See what the future holds. Yeah, and that's, kind of the point. It is a big if. Two cabs. Well, one cab, two skins does not make a company. That is absolutely for sure. I would agree with that. But I think they've put out a product here that the community has been saying for a long time, that it's the type of product that they want. Even if it's not exactly the product they want, it's certainly the type of product people have said. And if this is the direction that they plan on going, and we see more like this over this next year and even into 2026, I think Arcade1Up may have just been put on notice. And if they don't listen and do something different this year, they're going to wind up losing out. Now, I don't think they're going to necessarily go out of business right away. I still think they've got enough of, like the mainstream people who see their stuff and kind of buy on a whim or whatever. They could keep. Look, I honestly believe Arcade1Up could do nothing but churn out Pac-Man cabs for the next 20 years, and it would at least keep them in business. We wouldn't be buying them, but somebody would. And the point here is this community here, this retro community, this home arcade community. What are we going to be talking about? What are we going to be excited about over the next couple of years? And is it going to be Arcade1Up, or is it going to be Iconic? Or are we going to get so lucky that Arcade1Up does look at this and say, we've got competition now, we better step up our game and give us more of what we want. And we've got two companies battling for our attention and giving us what we want. That's what I'm hoping for, because there'll be a lot of really cool stuff to talk about over the next 2 years. And I think it's going to make for some interesting stuff going forward. So again, before I wrap this up, let me just finish up on some of the things on the chat here. Arcade1Up is only going to announce cabinets they are producing more of. Yeah, and again, I think they can do that and get away with it. It's just, I got more ads. I gotta pay the bills, man. I gotta pay the bills. What can I tell you? They're supposed to be, they're not supposed to come on that often. I don't know how often they come on, to be honest with you. I think Arcade1Up might be done making new 3/4 scale cabs. They'll make what they make and chalk it up to being retro. A1Up's only hope is that their distributor funds some new titles, but hoping for XLs with them might be a lost cause. Yeah, I do think that there's a lot of truth to that. Had to order a new TMNT PCB the other day, and Arcade1Up still had them in stock to sell. All right. Well, they're supposed to. They're supposed to hold on to those for things like that, and that's for sure. Just so it looks like I'll need to go back and rewatch what I mean. Yeah, check out the replay for sure. Yeah, but that's gonna do it. Let me stop here because I could probably just keep going all night. Hope you guys enjoyed the show. I thought this was an interesting topic. I am going to be obviously following Iconic Arcade, just like I'm going to be following so many others, seeing what AtGames has planned for the rest of this year. Obviously very interested and excited in the product that Glenn is putting out, things that New Wave Toys is doing, and things like that. So I do think this is going to be a really fun year with some interesting things to talk about. Question for you. Do you have any idea on where to find out-of-print Evercade cards? Honestly, JJ, I'm going to be honest with you. Evercade is one of those companies that I don't follow as much as some of the other guys do. So I apologize, but I don't have a clue. I'm not sure where you could look for. I mean, I guess the only suggestion I can make is maybe secondhand market, whether it's like a Facebook Marketplace or eBay or something like that, and hope that people aren't like throwing them out there for like stupid, ridiculous prices. Jodella, good to see you. Sorry you made it late. Wonder what, if any, XLs Costco ordered from Arcade1Up this year. Yeah, and I guess that's, the other thing, too, is at least we know with Iconic that that's not something, they don't have planned, some exclusive big box stores like that to put out. All right, guys, I said I was going to stop 5 minutes ago. Let me stop here. because it's getting late for me too. And I actually went into my office to work today, which is something I don't normally do. So I'm tired and I'm going to take a rest. But thank you guys for joining me tonight. I definitely appreciate it. Let me know what you think of this new setup I've got going on. I may tweak it a little bit from here to there. I know it's not anything like super special, but I kind of like it. And yeah, let me know your thoughts. But that's going to do it for this one. Thank you guys for coming on and being a part of the show tonight. I will be back probably in about 2 weeks. I do not believe I'll be doing a show next week. I'm going to try to do these every other week. I'm going to try to do this time slot Wednesdays from 8 to 9. Hopefully this works out because I don't think too many other people go live and do shows around here. If you missed it, be sure to check out the replay. Do me a favor, hit the like button before you go, and keep an eye out for the rest of my stuff. Like I said, I dropped a members only exclusive video earlier today that will go live for everybody else tomorrow on how to do some button mapping on Glenn's Viper board. So if you've got the KVM switcher, if you're running that in your arcade, or even if you plan on buying his full-size unit, this will actually work for that in the future. So be sure to check that out. And last thing, thank you, Jason, for putting that in the chat. In the future, I may try to do a redirect to their show, but check out Arcades Anonymous. Go enjoy them, and I'll see you next time.